What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. This is 7 Days to Sunday. I'm the big O, Jerry Ostroski. That's my main man, Zig Fracassi from Sirius XM Radio. You can hear him on Sirius XM. You're on the weekends, right, Zig?
Yes, Jerry, good to be back with you, my friend. Saturdays during the season, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Channel 88 in the Sirius XM app. And then after Sunday Night Football, Phil Sims' son, Matt Sims, and I break down all the Sunday games, the Night Owl special, if you will. So if you want to hang out with us until 2 a.m. Eastern, it's Channel 88 in the Sirius XM app. You can always get me at Zig Sports Voice on X, too.
Awesome. So obviously we're going to talk a little bit about the Bills' 31-19 win over the New Orleans Saints, a game that everybody thought was going to be a blowout, and it kind of was, but it kind of wasn't. I think they covered the spread. I can't remember what the FanDuel spread was, but
I don't think they
covered. You don't think they did?
No.
If they didn't, they missed it by like a point or whatever. But we'll talk a little bit about that game. I was in Orchard Park for that one for an alumni weekend. It was good. And then obviously Sunday Night Football, Chris Collinsworth, Mike Tirico, and the likes as the New England Patriots come to town 2-2, take on the 4-0 Bills. Sunday night on NBC. We'll talk about that one as well, give you my three keys to the game. But let's talk a little bit about this Saints game, Zig. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, you know, again, it's human nature. Again, they were coming off the blowout loss to Seattle the week before. Then you have to travel in. You face the Bills, who are next to unbeatable at Highmark Stadium. But, you know, it was a thing. You talked about it so well. They had to neutralize Alvin Kamara. Well, at times that they didn't. And the Saints, if you looked at the numbers, Jerry, they amassed almost 200 yards on the ground. And those were long drives. And I thought Rattler did a fairly nice job mixing in the pass and all that. But I thought really the play that kind of settled the game down, because New Orleans was going to go in for, I thought, the lead at the half, was that Philly special that they tried with them and Olave in the back there with the Philly pass. But Cole Bishop made this ridiculous one-handed play getting up there in the coverage towards the right corner there of the end zone. And I thought really that kind of settled the game down a little bit. It still kind of flowed back and forth, but then when the Bills got that lead in the fourth quarter, I think that was one of those things, Jerry, where you could probably go, we got out of this one okay. Right. We're unbeaten. We're 4-0, but it wasn't, like you said, you know, the most aesthetically pleasing type of game. But hey, you're 4-0. I'd rather be 4-0 than an ugly 1-3 or 2-2.
Right, exactly. And I think Buffalo followed their game plan like they have all year with this 4-0 start. Defensively, obviously, they've got to do a better job of stopping the run. And we talked about Kamara last week as far as breakdowns of the game, kind of keys to the game. He had success. I thought Spencer Rattler did a really good job of extending drives. I think there were some plays that weren't there. He found a way to get upfield, escaped inside. The Bills, you know, not good against the run. We're at the bottom or are the bottom in the league in a lot of rushing statistics defensively. But when you look at this Bills team, the thing that they do so well, they don't give up the big play. And we've talked about this for a while. You know, if you're going to score on the Bills, it's going to be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 plays. And they kept the Saints from having the big play, even though Rattler had some ability to scramble and things like that. And I thought you brought up a great point. And I was at the game, obviously. I was up in the suites,
the cheap seats. No,
yeah, well, they weren't cheap, but they were cheap for me because the Bills paid for them. But
nice,
you know, we had an alumni weekend this week, and I'm not a big fan of sitting inside because it's like you're inside the television looking out, right? You know, I'd rather be out in the crowd, and I'm sure when we go back in December, that's where we'll be. But I thought you brought up a great point, that Cole Bishop interception, which, by the way, if you watch it, he's on the outside of the right hash, reads it, and makes the interception on the left side of the left numbers. I mean, he went a long way to make that play, great closing speed. But you were 100% correct. It settled it down. It kind of took the angst away. And then they get another, key stop here and there later in the game, and it's your typical Bills victory. All of a sudden you look up, they score 30 points again. They're 4-0, and you kind of sit there and scratch your head a little bit, Zig, and go, how the hell did that just happen, right?
Right.
And it's just the way that team is. I think that they've got so much belief in not only themselves, but in the guy who takes snaps, and as they should. they're going to know that Josh Allen's going to find a way to make plays and get it done. And yeah, I mean, while there's areas that we'll talk about that they need to get better at, it was kind of in blueprint. I mean, even though it was tight, they were never like in peril. Does that make sense?
It does. It was like one of those you never thought the Saints really could win, but
Right.
it was a little too uncomfortable. And, I interviewed Bishop after the game, and I asked him point blank. I says, maybe did you guys take them for granted, and gave me the usual answer. No, we don't do that and all this. And I think that's going to be the player's answer to all of this. And I think for him, Jerry, that was a statement play too, because we all know that the run defense has had its issues, but also the safety play through the preseason was not very good.
Right.
And even through maybe the first portion of this season. So for a guy who's still young in his career, I mean, Bishop, I think third year out of Utah, for him to make a statement play like that, rah for the safeties, I would say.
And I think, second year out of Utah and obviously second round pick, they moved up to get him and obviously had some injury issues in the last two preseasons where it kind of limited him in preseason camp. But you're starting to see him roll into form and get better and better. And if you watched the post-game interview, or I shouldn't say post-game interview, the post-game talk, McDermott's talked to the team and he's giving out game balls and stuff. Right. And the embrace that him and Cole Bishop had after that game, and just the way that McDermott talked about how hard he's been working to get better. And McDermott talked about it again in his press conference about how Cole Bishop's putting in the time and getting better. I think you saw that out of both of them, that, hey, maybe this is that point. All great players, all players have a time that they arrive. There's a moment in their career where they arrive. I had mine in Miami, coming off the practice squad and getting thrown into action in the second quarter. Maybe this is Cole Bishop's moment. And, I was happy to see it. I like Cole Bishop a lot.
I do too.
Really do. Yeah. And, we do got some age issues on defense. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we've got some older players playing, and then you got the complete opposite of super, super young guys and rookies having to play a ton of snaps. So it kind of lends to the start you've got with this defense. Now, Zig, I don't know. Are the answers to playing good defense on this team? Are they coming week 6 or 7 when Ogunjobi and Hoyt get off of suspension? I don't know. But I do think they'll play better as the season goes along.
Yeah, that can't hurt. I mean, you're talking about two established commodities there, two guys who, have played very well in the National Football League. Ogunjobi and, of course, Hoyt both suspended, for the first 6 games. So you got to think, if anything, it fortifies the interior of the run defense, which is basically, Jerry, where the problems have occurred.
Exactly. And again, you're in a position where you had Ed Oliver, probably plays the best game of his career the first week of the season.
Right. He's been out. Milano out too. So
right. He's been out. Matt Milano's been out. This isn't a big physical linebacker core. Now in this game, when I watch the All-22, they played a lot of their base 4-2-5. They didn't play a lot of 4-3 where they brought the extra linebacker in. They played some, but mostly it was out of their 4-2-5. So they were running a lighter box in some of the run looks. So you got guys trying to play a gap and a half as opposed to, one gap, and that kind of puts stress on them, especially when you got a defensive interior line of, an older vet in Daquan Jones. They kept Zion Logue down this week because he was kind of reaching the max of games as you could bring him up off the practice squad, and actually brought up Jordan Phillips, who is long in the tooth. And then 2 completely wet behind the ears rookies behind him. I mean, that's not the greatest situation to be in. I think, when Ogunjobi comes back, probably solidifies that a little more inside. Hoyt's kind of a morph guy. He can play a couple positions, so it should help the Bills. But, obviously, when you have smaller linebackers, Zig, that run and react, if they're having to have guys in their lap right away, that's not good for them. And, the defensive tackle's got to play better. It's not hard to see. No. But again, you have to be patient because you've got 2 draft picks in there.
As we continue with 7 days to Sunday with FanDuel, you just brought up an interesting concept there. It's called the All-22. And maybe for people that are unaware of that, sometimes you'll get on the internet and everything, and you see these feeds that look like the game's being broadcast from Mars Well, basically what it is, and Jerry could speak to it much better than I can because he played the game so very well, is that's the shot where coaches can watch all 11 players offensively, all 11 players defensively, so they could rewind the tape and everything like that, where maybe a block was missed or where the receiver's going to hit, into the zone, whatever the case may be. That's an indispensable tool where the coaches use it and the educated fans can learn from it too.
Right. You go to NFL Plus and you get the all 22. And flying back yesterday from Buffalo, I flew to Washington, D.C., then flew to Tulsa, which is about a 2 hour, 45-minute flight. Mm-hmm. So I got a chance to get on the all 22, watch the game, kind of break it down. I thought offensively, the Bills did what they normally do. Joe Brady did a good job of mixing some things up. I did think he got a little bit too cute on a few plays, especially that one 4th down where Vandermark tripped and they were trying to do the inside, fly sweep handoff to Elijah
I didn't
Moore.
like that.
No, especially when you got guys like, Cook and Davis and Johnson, and then you got Josh Allen as well, maybe be a little bit more direct, but I understand it. But no, watching it offensively, what they were, Brady added a few more wrinkles in the run game this week where he was having the H position or the fullback come in, also had Jackson Hawes, both of those guys pulling, leading the play, which I thought was really effective. Hawes made some great blocks, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But, obviously went back to their bread and butter type stuff with some of the outside zone. I did think they doubled really well inside this week. I thought the guards and the center worked really well together, guard tackle stuff where they had true blue double teams, tightened up their steps, tightened up their fits, and were able to get the Saints moved out of there. And then for all intents and purposes, do a pretty good job on the second level. That offensive line's elite. They're doing really well. I think that there's, one guy that you need to really kind of look at and point out as a guy that's getting better and better is David Edwards, that left guard.
Yeah.
Since his since his move to what we would call independent hand usage in offensive line football, when I was a player, we were taught the two-hand punch all the time. So we were throwing both of our hands all the time. Right. Now they do, because defensive linemen watch film and most of their stuff is the SWAT hands and all that. Offensive line coaches went to more of an independent hand deal, which would be more like a boxer. Throw that left hand. If they attack it, then you throw the right as a counter. Those types of things. And Edwards has started to really employ that and do a very, very good job with it. And I thought he played very, very well. Vandermark was Vandermark. He has some deficiencies in pass pro just because of athletic ability. He's a huge guy. I thought his run blocking was good. He could probably stand and maybe do a little bit of a different technique in his pass sets. But again, I'm not Aaron Cromer. I'm not going to call Cromer up and say, hey, you need to have Vandermark do this. Obviously when Spencer Brown's in there, it's a little bit different, but I thought he did a good job. All in all, that line was great. And Ad Hawes and, the receivers did what they do and Josh did what he did. And, you have to give it up to them. And then defensively, obviously, again, some issues up the middle with being soft, I thought they did and it's harder when you run in the 4-2-5, like I said, because you run a lighter box, but that mesh between the defensive linemen and the linebackers kind of suffered. It really wasn't there, and gave the Saints some creases to run through. And then also for Spencer Rattler to get out on and extend some drives. So, that's something they need to continue to work on and get better at. But again, you got a couple older guys. Jordan Phillips came off of the practice squad, played for the first time in who knows how long. And then you got two wet behind the ear rookies. It's going to be tough until they get more and more plays under their belt, and then they'll get better and better.
Well, and also props to James Cook. Yet another big day for him. And you think of all the great Bills backs that they've had in the history, whether it's back to Cookie Gilchrist or, of course, O.J. Simpson, Joe Cribbs, your guy, Thurman Thomas, beast mode, 8 straight games with a rushing touchdown. And it looks like that contract has definitely been been well earned already, but even more so now, I believe. So props to James Cook.
And the jokes are, did they underpay him?
Right.
After watching what he's been doing. And again, I just can't see James Cook doing what he does anywhere else. And that's not a slight against James Cook.
No.
It's just his running style and the way that offensive line blocks and what Cromer believes in. It just meshes so well. And, you look at a guy like a Derrick Henry who runs violently. There's collisions and power. And then you watch James, and it's fluid, almost kind of elegance to it. It's really wild. He's got that kind of hesitation move, and then he goes and he pushes a bunch of stuff backside. I hate to use the term pretty when I talk about describing football,
right?
but it is kind of pretty, man. It's just there's a flow to it that's gorgeous, and I'm so happy that he's still with the Bills, because honestly, I think if you ask James Cook and you gave him the true serum, it's where he probably wanted to be the whole time as well, just because he knows how that's what the Bills do run blocking wise, how it enhances his running and vice versa. I think they work so well together.
Well, and a guy that conjures up memories for me when he was on the top of his game, especially when he was with the Steelers, was Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Where here's a guy who basically, Jerry, and the way I just viewed it was he got the ball. It's almost like he paused for a second.
Yeah.
Then he went into his running mechanism.
Yeah, Le'Veon, that's a great pool, Zig. I mean, that's like probably when you start talking about comps and things like that, Le'Veon is the comp for James Cook. I mean, they're very, very similar running styles, and we know what kind of back Le'Veon Bell was before he got into this mode of moving all over the place. But,
yeah, right.
But seriously, I mean, it's good to see, and I still feel watching the Bills, they're holding back. Like, they're doing what they do. Mm-hmm. They're scoring 30-plus points, and there's still like another gear or two left in that offense. Because if you think about it, you watch Josh Allen when he was younger and he was playing, it seemed like you had 10 to 15 of those Josh Allen type of plays, like he did towards the end of the game, this game, when he had the big long run and to kind of shut the door, right? You saw more of that. But now that he's kind of reached that maturity of knowing it mentally as well as physically, you see those, but you only see him about 4 or 5 times a game, maybe. He picks and chooses a little bit more. Exactly. So knowing that there's all that left in the tank, and then I just, I look at the offense and what they're doing, they're running predominantly out of 3 tight ends. I mean, Alec Anderson, who was their extra lineman in their big jumbo sets last year, he barely sees the field. I mean, you got Jackson Hawes that kind of took that over. He's making big catches. The trust they have in him as a rookie. But I still think there's more, and that's what's kind of I think others in the league see it as well, and it's got to be scary for them.
Yeah, it definitely is. And of course, the Bills will be full throttle Sunday night against the New England Patriots. But before then, Jerry, I'm getting a little hungry.
Well, if you're getting hungry, I've got the place for you.
You do.
And obviously, if you're hungry, the place to go is none other than the original Anchor Bar in the city of Buffalo. The Anchor Bar is an amazing. Now, I don't know if you watched the postgame show on Sunday, but John Fina actually did the show from the Anchor Bar this weekend.
How about him?
So the crowd was there, but you can go to the Anchor Bar for the original Buffalo wing. They're fresh, never frozen, jumbo, high-quality wings. They're deep fried and sauced to your liking. They got 24 varieties of sauces, and they got other stuff as well. They got boneless wings, chicken tenders, pizza, beef on weck, burgers and wraps. Whatever you're hungry for, you can get it at the Anchor Bar. And they've got 16 locations with three new locations going in Tucson, Arizona, which is where John lives, Frisco, Texas, which is the one I'll hit, and then also Raleigh, North Carolina. And Frank and Teresa Bellissimo in 1935 opened the Anchor Bar. In 1964, they invented the chicken wing, and the rest has been history. So if you're hungry, you're in the city of Buffalo, go to the home of the original Buffalo wing, the Anchor Bar. And if you're elsewhere, check out the locations online. And if you just want their sauce, you can go online and order their sauce and have it at the house. I've got it in my closet or in my pantry as we speak. So the Anchor Bar, a proud sponsor of the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, and we're grateful for them. So thank you.
Oh, the beef on weck just looks ridiculous right now.
Yeah, I know. That picture right there.
Yeah, you're really killing me here.
As I try to eat healthy, right?
Exactly. We mentioned Chris Collinsworth, again, terrific analyst, I think, on NBC, and also has this really good website. It's PFF. It's Pro Football Focus. And it's basically, let's call it what it is. If you're a stat nerd, you absolutely love this kind of evaluation. And they had an interesting piece on there, Jerry, about the top 15 NFL rookies through week 4. And one just happens to play for the Buffalo Bills, the young man Jackson Hawes.
Yeah, not just happens to be on the 15, he is number one
Yes.
on the top 15 list, and over 90% grade, playing awesome football. And I think the biggest thing is you look at these rookies and just what do they trust you to do?
Right.
And I think when Jackson Hawes came out, we all knew the type of blocker he is. The guys on the team, Deion Dawkins, talked glowingly about him. We know what he brought to the blocking side of things because, hell, when they drafted him in the late rounds, I think in the 5th round, that was the deal. They said, well, he fell this far because he's a one-dimensional tight end. All he does is block. Then we see him in the Baltimore game catch a big seam pass down the middle to set up a touchdown. We see him this weekend catch one for 23. We've seen him catch a ball just about in every game. So obviously he has hands as well. You very rarely see a rookie bring veteran-type tools to their first season in the league. And what's funny to me is I really believe this, and I don't know how others feel about it, and I've seen this throughout my career. The rookies that have seasons like this that stand out usually are later round guys. They're guys that aren't your first round pick or your second round pick. They're later round guys because you're drafting them because they are football players, not necessarily because they jump the highest, they run the fastest, they're the strongest. You're drafting them because of the production you've seen on film, and the testing doesn't validate maybe taking them as high as you might.
Well, they have more to prove than the hype
Right.
teammate, right?
Right, exactly. So you look at a Jackson Hawes who played at Yale for 4 years, graduates, goes for his last year to Georgia Tech, and now he's dominating the scene as a rookie.
Absolutely.
But it's because he's a complete football player. He's not necessarily the best athlete. He's a complete football player. He's a smart kid. He finds ways to get it done. So it's funny how usually these rookies that have standout seasons like this, a lot of times they're late round guys.
Yeah. And again, more to prove and that kind of thing. So I'm with you there. Jackson Hawes has been a tremendous add to the Buffalo Bills. I think you and I both thought New England was going to be a better team this year.
Right.
Well, they split their first 4 games. Jerry, if they don't turn the ball over like a bakery with all those turnovers against Pittsburgh,
right,
they could be 3-1 right now. But they had 4 turnovers in that ball. Or I think it was 5 actually, but 4 fumbles, 2 of them within the 2-yard line. So this week they fell 6-0 to Carolina early, but then they just rolled them after. They had the big punt return for a touchdown. Hunter Henry had a touchdown. They just put it on the Carolina Panthers 42-13. I'm not saying that they're fully back yet, but I think the Bills are going to have a bit of a stiffer challenge Sunday night on national TV against their division rival.
Definitely. Buffalo Bills Sunday night at home wearing their rivalry uniforms. There's going to be a whole bunch of that. I think they're going to try to have sort of a, I don't know if you've seen it, Zig. I saw it on Twitter earlier, kind of a whiteout situation like they do at Happy Valley.
Oh, really?
You got to go in line with the Bills uniform. So, but obviously Bills are laying 8.5 points as far as the FanDuel line at 8.5, and the over under is 50.5. And you can check all those statistics out for the game betting wise on FanDuel, as the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network is presented by FanDuel. But if you look at just base statistics, points per game, Patriots coming in at 25.5. That's 10th in the league. Bills 33.2. That's second. Point differential, Bills are third, plus 43. Patriots are 8th at plus 21. Record in close games, Bills 1-0, Patriots 1-2. A sign of what? A younger team, right? Maybe they haven't quite been there yet. Average margin of victory, Bills are 14th at 10.8. The Patriots 17.5 puts them 6th. Turnovers, again, you just talked about it, Zig. The Patriots ranked 26th in the league, -3 in turnover differential. Bills 6th with +3. And then you look at penalties. The other thing that kills you, Bills are 9th with 25. Patriots 25th in the league with 34 penalties. So some things they got to get cleaned up. I think that one interesting aspect of this matchup, and I've been saying it for a long time, if there's a quarterback out there in the league that's like Josh Allen, you're not going to have one that is Josh Allen, but like Josh Allen, it's Drake May.
Absolutely.
And Drake May right now, is statistically a little bit better throwing the ball than Josh Allen. We know that Josh has had a bunch of games where the everybody eats moniker has kind of taken over, but right now, Drake May with a 74% completion ratio, 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, 109 88.4 quarterback rating. He's 91 of 123 attempts for 988. Josh Allen comes in with 70.2% completion, 109.7 rating, 7 TDs to 1 interception, which happened this weekend. And by the way, that wasn't his fault. That was a hell of a play by that safety.
Oh, yeah.
From New
Tremendous
Orleans.
play.
964 yards, 85 of 121. So there's some things that are interesting this you can look at, and we'll talk about those when I give my keys to the game. But yeah, there's a few areas where you're getting strength versus strength and things like that. So should be a good matchup.
Well, I got to think, and you're going to get to your keys here in a second. I got to think one is special teams because I mentioned they had the punt return for the touchdown this past Sunday. You remember after Miami returned to kick in week 2, Gibson ran the kickoff back like 90 yards for a touchdown. I thought Vrabel was going to catch him in the end zone. He was running down the sideline so fast. So I got to think New England, with their ability to break some big plays here, that could be something the Bills' special teams better be on the lookout for.
Right, and we're going to be in a situation in Buffalo. We're on our 3rd punter of the year unless they re-sign the first guy because it looks like the punter's out for the Bills. He got
Johnson,
run over.
right?
Yeah, Johnson got run over that last punt. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. They've already tried some punters out. We're already on our 2nd kicker with Prater, although Prater's been good. One area I do think we do need to get better at is special teams. I don't have those statistics right in front of me, but we haven't been great in coverage. I think our average yard line, starting yard line, has been too much for the opponents. I think we give up too many return yards, and subsequently we haven't returned the ball very well. So teams do have to get better, and that's definitely when you get these types of games, a rivalry game, a Sunday night game, something usually kind of gives or you break out with, and teams is one of those areas that can really be a big determining factor. So the Bills need to really tighten that up this week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the returns, the kickoffs. The opponents had 23. They're averaging 27 yards per return, and punt total, the average punt return yards there for the opponent is 5.4. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a key. New England is going to definitely have to, I think, maybe use that for the advantage. Stevenson, when he doesn't fumble, is pretty damn good. Trevion Henderson, who I thought was a steal in the 2nd round, the kid
I'm with you.
Out of Ohio State. I mean, this guy can just absolutely do it all. He can block, catch the ball out of the backfield, and all that. So I think Mike Vrabel's got a nice platoon there. And against that said questionable run defense, Jerry, Bills better watch out that New England doesn't gash them thoroughly Sunday night.
Well, it's funny you look at that, Zig, and right now the overall rushing efficiency of the Patriots is they're 28th in the league. Bills' rushing overall rushing efficiency on defense is 23. It's higher than I thought it would be. But so there's that. So which side can get themselves going
right
as far as, the team goes? Both of them struggling in that area. Patriots offensively rushing, Bills defense. Who can get the upper hand in that area? The other one is, as we're talking keys to the game, the other one is the Bills' overall rushing efficiency versus the Patriots' defense. You got the number 1 rushing efficiency team or offense in the league, and the Bills going against number 4 for the New England Patriots. So that's kind of one of those, Titanic matchups. The strengths, match up very well, and you got both of those going on. So when you look at this, I think the thing about the Bills, and one of my big keys to the game is, they've done this for the last 4 games. They did it last year at the end of the season. Whenever there's an ebb and flow in the game, Zig, that when the Bills kind of maybe bog down a little bit in the passing game or bog down a little bit on offense, they've always been able to go to James Cook in their running game to get themselves back upright again. And that's the key to this game is, can the Bills continue to do that with this rushing offense, use their multiple tight end sets, run the football, control the clock, and then set up that short passing game and stuff to where maybe you do like Shakir did this past weekend and make a big play on a couple of missed tackles, or you can get over the top. So there's your big matchup, or probably your number 1 key to the game is the Bills rushing offense versus this Patriots rushing defense. Can the Bills continue to establish the run even though they're playing against a stout run defense of the Patriots?
How do you think Stephon Diggs will be received?
Not good, like he always is. I mean, the way he left Buffalo, there's no There's no love
No
lost
give?
there.
Like,
No,
you
there's
know,
no give. I'm sure there's still a few
okay.
people that like Diggs, but obviously, he burned it all when he walked out the door. So I don't
Okay.
think you'll see much love lost in that category.
Well, you notice how the offense, to me, and I insisted this, that if they move on from Diggs, and you used this so very well, the term earlier, everybody eats. Notice how you don't have anybody bitching about lack of
Yeah,
receptions,
I know. It's amazing.
right?
This is the most weird thing to me, Zig, is this harmony and this harmonious situation that they have in Buffalo. Because back when I played, you had the bickering Bills, you had a lot of
Yes.
that stuff, and
Yes.
probably the biggest thing that Marv Levy ever did as a football coach was to
Mhm.
be able to manage that locker room,
Yep.
because that locker room had a ton of strong personalities,
Yes.
and he was able to manage that locker room, keep them focused, play well Sunday, get to Super Bowls. And this is like a different type of feeling. It's a different deal. Like it
Kumbaya.
yes,
You know?
yes. Like you almost want to walk in the locker room and they got the roasted marshmallows or something. Somebody, and
Get some
probably
s'mores
I can
going,
see I can see Dalton Knox like strumming an acoustic guitar playing camp songs, right? And I know it's kind of fun and tongue
That's
in cheek, but
great.
it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. And so yeah, I think that's a big deal for the Bills. But I think my second area this week, and it's going to go back to what it was last week, and we've not been very good at it. Obviously, Bills pressure rate's number 12 in the league right now.
Yeah.
Patriots pressure rate on offense as far as pass pro is number 18. The Bills have to find some way to get pressure up front, not
Agreed.
just bringing 5 and 6. The 4 guys up front have to figure out a way to get pressure on Drake May and get him off his spot and get him rattled a little bit, because it's something that hurt us last week. It hurt us the week before that. They've got to find a pass rush.
And by the way, too, would be remiss if we didn't extend our prayers and thoughts to Terrell Williams, the defensive coordinator of the Patriots. I know Coach Vrabel announced last week that Coach Williams was undergoing treatment for prostate cancer. So we want to wish Coach Williams and all that are afflicted the very best.
Right, exactly. That's a great call. And it's something that's affected my family in the past.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not an easy thing, and but yeah, I agree.
What do you think? Jets lost a tough one Monday night to the Dolphins. By the way, prayers up for Tyreek Hill for a speedy recovery from his surgery. That was a gruesome injury suffered in that game. Jets 0-4. They got Dallas this week, and I think Miami's got Carolina on Sunday.
Yeah, Miami's playing a little better. I mean, obviously the Tyreek Hill thing you don't want to see, and no matter what you think about Tyreek, you don't want to see anybody have a situation like that.
Never.
And this is a deal where you got a guy who's a speed receiver who's 33 years old that wrecks basically his entire knee. This may be career ending. We may not see him again.
I hope not. But you're right. Yeah.
We may not. We're not going to see him for at least a year, maybe 2 years, if he does come back. Jets are in a, they're in a situation where I figured they would be in. It's been reported Aaron Glenn was hurt outside the locker room, just giving the team the business after the game.
Oof.
And he should have, the way they played.
Yeah.
But you got to remember something here, and I think people need to realize this, is when Dan Campbell took over in Detroit, they were 0-10 or 0-11 or 0-10-1 or something like that. Yep. And it took him a long time to finally win a game. Very similar situation. So they're going to have to be patient in New York, before this thing's going to get turned. So hopefully, and I understand New York's a much tougher media and fan environment than Detroit is, but this isn't one of these overnight things. It's going to take time. So hopefully that thing gets situated. I like Aaron Glenn. I think he's a good coach.
do too. Yeah, he's a Parcells guy, and all that. And by the way, coached under Dan in Detroit, so he's been through this.
Right, exactly. So hopefully they get that thing turned. But no, my other key to this game, and it kind of goes to the other AFC East game, which is our own, the Patriots and the Bills. And like we talked about, Bills laying 8.5. That's presented by FanDuel. Over under is 50.5. When you look at a game like this, and I know this is redundant, and I say this a lot, but I really believe this is true. These are games you can't give a ton of hope to the opposing team.
No.
You got a bunch of young guys playing. They do have some vets. Vrabel's a good football coach. They're in the middle of trying to build culture and all that. But at some point in time, like against the Saints or somebody like that, you could probably get away with it.
Right.
But against the Patriots, they're good enough at 2-2 coming into this game. You can't give them hope. So some point, some way, some manner, they got to find a way to control the running game, maybe get some pressure on May, continue to pound the ball on offense, get Josh involved, hit some big plays, and take that hope away quick, because you don't want them to linger around, because this team's good enough to finish things if you let them stay in the game too long.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Vrabel is already instilled, that a lot of people think of the used word of culture, but he's definitely done that. He's a little bit like Belichick in that regards. Again, whether they attain ultimate success like they had for about 20 years remains to be seen, but it's clear New England is a whole lot better.
So what do you think, Zig? What's your call on the game this week?
It's going to be a tight one, I think, throughout. I don't think I'd see a blowout either direction, to be honest with you. I'll give this one to the Bills. I'll say 30-24.
Okay, we're about right. I was going 34-24.
Okay.
I think New England will have some success. I think they'll be around, but I think we go ahead and keep our streak over 30. Finish this one off, be 5-0. One more week before we get to I guess the next game after that is what? Monday night versus the Falcons, I believe. That
down in Atlanta, yes.
Down in Atlanta, which will be, hopefully we find a way to get some rush defense success now, because on a week going to play Bijan Robinson, you don't want to be out there with no clue. So hopefully that gets done. But yeah, very similar to you as well. I think the Bills will take it. But I do think they'll have a little bit of stress, because I do think this New England group's better than people make them out to be. So anyway, this has been 7 Days of Sunday with the big O, Jerry Ostroski and Zig Fracassi. We'll be back next week with we'll break this game down, get ready for that matchup Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. So for the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, for John, for Joe, for Anthony, for everybody involved, for Zig, we appreciate you watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. And, folks, we don't take you for granted. We appreciate you tuning in. And we'll be back next week with more. So, as always, folks, much love. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
All right. I'm glad you did it, Zig. I'm proud of you. Most people don't say go Bills. Good job.
There you go.
I feel the same.